Alexis here, coming to you with an awesome sale of 25% off when you use promo code OHURU25 at alexisfowler.com. I provide services like digital art, logo designs, packaging designs, web designs, social media flyers, and much more. If you're an entrepreneur with a business or a startup company, make sure you take advantage of this opportunity, getting 25% off when you use promo code OHURU25 at alexisfowler.com.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. It really means a lot. Before we get started, hit the like button. That's your price of admission. Hitting that like button. Make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. Have a couple of announcements. Announcement number one. All right, we are rolling to Sierra Leone next month. We are rolling to Sierra Leone next month. I have some spots available. Come and join us in Sierra Leone. Come and join us in the beautiful country of Sierra Leone. Citizenship is available to those who qualify. Again, citizenship is available to those who qualify. If you have your African ancestry DNA paperwork, you are eligible for citizenship. Again, if you have your African ancestry DNA paperwork, and it links back to Sierra Leone, let me be specific. You are eligible for citizenship. So go to donfo.africa to learn more. Again, donfo.africa to learn more. We're also rolling to Benin in January for the Voodoo Festival. We'll be rolling to Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. And then we're also rolling to Nigeria in August for the Oshun Festival. So please visit donfo.africa to learn more. We are going to continue the conversation in regards to what's going on in the Middle East currently, in Israel. So, we did a show either yesterday or the day before just discussing, the Black Hebrew Israelites' role in the conflict that is taking place currently in Israel. So I said, my one of my brothers, hit me up, was like, Dynasty, I got to come on and add to the conversation. And I'm like, you know what? Come on. We'll do a show tonight. So we have two. We got my brother Ashraf on and my brother Uri on as well. Let me bring them on, and we're just going to continue the conversation about what's taking place in Israel. And these brothers, they're both Black Hebrew Israelites as well. So let's bring them on. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom, Dynasty. What's going on?
What's good, man?
Long time no talk, man. I see you ain't slowed down working.
Nah, of course not.
You can't. Yes, sir.
Man, where you at? Where you at now?
I'm in Atlanta right now.
Okay, you back in Atlanta. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. It's kind of windy in the background on your end.
Okay. Give me a second.
Okay. All right. Let's jump right into it. Your take on what's going on right now in Israel.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I seen the title of your the thumbnail of that last video. I didn't get to watch it, but I thought it was kind of interesting and funny. So it's a moving piece, and this thing is very complex. It's complex, and of course, us being in the land of Israel, based in the land of Israel, and have been there for over 50 years. Of course, we're going to have a different perspective from the inside, and more, and even within our own organization, some of us are going to have more of a detailed aspect of what's going on the ground than others. Okay, so again, I'm in Atlanta. I was raised out here. My sisters, I had two sisters born and raised to a certain point in the land of Israel, and of course, I go back very frequently. So I got another brother that should jump on here in a little bit, who was actually born and raised in Israel, who actually fought in the IDF and went through the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, etc. So he kind of gave a little bit of experience as it relates to that. But just to get started, always first giving all honor and praises to the God of creation. Always have to make sure I do that. And another thing to make sure to understand is I am and we are speaking from our personal account and understanding from many of the things that we have been educated on, within our community, and also just from a personal narrative as well. We do not speak officially for our, for our nation and for our kingdom. So wanted to put that out. So to understand anything in the present, Dynast, and whoever is the audience, to understand anything in the present, you have to really understand the complex history to go along with it. Okay, what we know is what everybody knows is that there is constant feud and conflict between Palestine and then the state of Israel. Okay, so we know that the basic aspect of that. But what many people don't know when I speak to a lot of people is just the history on how it got to this point. Despite what side one may take, etc., that is not as relevant to us, more so to speak, because there's a political aspect to this, but then there's also a prophetic aspect to this. We are the unique group of individuals who are coming more so from a prophetic aspect versus, again, a political aspect. And so just to kind of give a quick rundown, from prior to 1187, well, prior to 70 AD, for a significant amount of time, that land which we call now Israel, and this again I see up for debate, where that may have been, etc. But that land that now is called Israel was once also called Israel. From the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, okay, that land was now given up to those who came from the Roman Empire, then became around 1187 from the Ottoman Empire, and became under Islamic influence up until 1948 with the reestablishment. I'm saying reestablishment with the name and the state, the country of now what we call Israel.
Now, when you say reestablishment, you're speaking on the British mandate.
No, when I say reestablishment, I'm saying that the name of Israel, that land was once called Israel once before, prior to 70 AD, before the Roman Empire invasion. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. But when it was reestablished in 1948, that was due to a British mandate. Am I right? Is that like the British came in and carved it up because that area was colonized by the British? That was Palestine. Am I correct?
You have something to say?
I was saying, yes, that's absolutely correct. And it was Dr. Ralph Bunche when the UN, they used the Bible.
Hey, brother, you're crackling. The sound is. Yeah, we can't. He's not coming in clear.
Yep, Assault, we can't really hear you right now, so we can't get to a better spot.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So yes. So with the treaty, right? After the World War, yes, it was signed, okay, from the British to be able to reestablish the state of Israel, which again was an ancient place. Now, the conflict becomes where, okay, whose is it? Whose land is it? Okay, from a general Jewish state, and I'm not speaking for Jews or anything like that, but from a Jewish understanding, hey, this was from their, the state of Israel existed before Palestine did. From a Palestinian perspective, we hear all that, but we ruled this land from, again, for 700, 800 years. So now who is in the right? And that is where the conflict, begins from a political standpoint. Okay. However, again, that is not our area where we are focused on and what got us there. Ours is from a prophetic versus a political. But there are some key things as relates to a historical standpoint that if we have time, Dynast, that I would love to be.
Take your time, brother. Take your time.
Okay.
Yeah, we no rush.
Hey, Shalom Yosef. Shalom Yehoiakim. So,
Shalom, shalom.
so with that, Dynas, what I wanted to do is just kind of create a narrative and understand. So anybody who may be interested, number one, we don't debate. So anybody who's coming in a debating spirit, we don't really debate. We'll let you have that, right? But anything as relates to, if you want to learn more about who we are, what we've done, what we are doing, and what we are going to continue to do, and you want to learn that, and or some of the things that we may be privy to just based upon our relationship with the state of Israel, then we are the people that you could learn some things from, and maybe you have some things that you could be able to share as well. But no, we don't engage in any type of debate, based upon one's belief systems. Okay, so again, after from 1187 to 1948, it was under Islamic rule. Now, here's some key historical understanding that I would again want to make sure that we're educated upon. Asaf mentioned it a little earlier. He said he named a person, and Dynas, I think you'll find this pretty interesting. There was a brother named Dr. Ralph Bunche, a black man.
Yeah, he's a senator, or he's something. Yeah.
Yes, a political scientist and a diplomat.
Right.
He was a political scientist. You heard of him before, huh?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Did you know he won a Nobel Peace Prize, and do you know what he won a Nobel Peace Prize for?
I know he won it, but I don't know what it was for.
Okay, yes. So he won a Nobel Peace Prize for his mediation efforts. He was a lead mediator to establish and advocate for the state of Israel.
Okay.
So a black man, that's significant because it's showing the relationship that we've all, even with the reestablishment that we've had with that particular land. Okay, even in when many of us may have not even understood our historical connection to it. Now, I'm not one to say, and I know Dynas is a big thing for you, I'm not one to say that every black person in America is Israelites. No. But we do understand that there were a significant amount of those who were taken from the transatlantic slave trade who were the historic and ancient Israelites. Okay, so that is a conversation we can have for other days, but just assuming that's the narrative. Again, Dr. Ralph Bunche, an American political scientist and diplomat, okay, received the 1950 Nobel Peace Prize, okay, as it relates to his mediation efforts with the state of Israel. That's significant. Okay, fast forward. What country was the deciding factor that the state of Israel has casted the last vote and the most significant vote to establish the state of Israel? That country was Liberia. Okay, Liberia had the decision to be able to decide whether the state of Israel would be or not. And they decided in favor of the state of Israel. Why is that significant, especially to us? Well, fast forward in 1966, our spiritual leader, His Excellency Ben Ami, okay, had a vision that it was time to reestablish the state, okay, the long-awaited kingdom of God, and return back to the state of Israel, okay, of the land of Israel, more so to speak. He was obedient to that, so we left in 1967. In us leaving in 1967, we did not go to Israel first, as it states in the prophecy that we will go into a state of wilderness. And in the wilderness, we would have to purge ourselves from our Western ways in order to be in a state of humility before we entered into that great land, what we would call home of Israel. Okay, so why is that important? Where did we go? We went to Liberia, the same country that I just said was the last one to cast a vote in favor of the state of Israel. Again, prophetic. So in our understanding and what we've experienced is this was, and this has been and will continue to be, a prophetic unfolding, even with parties that may not understand why this is maybe happening, unfolding the way it is, because the way it's going to end is not going to be the same way in which it begun. And when I mean begun, I'm saying stating as a reference to 1948. Okay, so we have a very different position. Okay, so we arrived into Israel in 1969, and at that time we were recognized initially. Okay, we were observed initially. Some of us was able to get citizenships initially, But quickly after they noticed that it was a group of us, right, that came from Black America, they was like, uh-oh, nah. So almost instantly they changed the law that stated now that you could not be a citizen of this land unless you had a quote unquote Jewish mother. Okay. So that's when then things for us became politically difficult to be able to create or to, to move everyone back to the homeland. So now we had to move around that. So we struggled for many years with being recognized as a legitimate people within that land. Okay. And it caused many hardships because there are a lot of things that we didn't have access to. We're talking about hospitals, we're talking about economics, we're talking about jobs and, different basic necessities that, citizens of a particular place or residents of a particular place may need. Okay. So what that did though is it caused us to have to build our own institutions, such as a healthcare. So we said, okay, we don't have access to the hospital. We got to create a healthcare system to where to prevent us from going to the hospital. How can we do that? We had to create a preventative model. We understood that the plant-based whole foods diet was the best way to do that. That's how we became the largest vegan community in the world. Okay. Our birthing centers. So Yehoiakim right there is on the live with us, who I think he just logged off, but Yehoiakim, who's on the live with us, he was born in our birthing center, right? So we had our own, midwives and our own, professionals as it relates to giving birth to babies. We had to establish that. We had to establish clothing manufacturing. We made our own clothes, right? Education systems, okay, and etc. Marital systems, right? We had to establish all these things because, again, we were not an integral part of that land or that state, more so to speak. That went on for some time. Now, remember, we arrived in 1969. We didn't receive permanent residency as a community until 2003, the early 2000s, where we then received permanent residency. Okay. And then shortly after that, that's when, we started to enroll our children in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, because our standpoint at that particular time, and still it continues to be, is that prophetically, that land will be turned back over to our sovereignty, and we will again rule that land. But it has to be.
I can interject. Sorry, I can interject. Okay, finish. I'm gonna write down my question. I'm gonna let you finish because I just want to know, how does that look like? But go ahead and finish, and then we'll circle back to the
absolutely.
You can address that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got my brothers who far smarter than me, so they're gonna definitely chime in on different questions. So definitely write them down though. And any questions that we have for sure. So, but I want to just paint the picture of, again, when this is all said and done, we will again have sovereignty over our land, govern our land, and it will be given back to, those of us whose inheritance it is. Will there be people in our land? Absolutely. Okay. However, the governance of that will go back to us. And everything prophetically leading up to this point of what we experience has led us to strongly believe that it's going to unfold just like that, because coming from the ghettos of Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, and different various places, from the progress that we made from becoming Negroes to important on a world scene, who've established ourselves in various places. And I know you got a great love for the continent of Africa, which Israel is on the continent of Africa. If I took you to, one of the pillars is going to say Haluach HaAfrikani, which means Israel sits on the African tectonic plate. But if we say sub-Saharan Africa, we are in sub-Saharan Africa in various countries, which we went from, again, being Negroes. So the miracle that has already happened thus far gives us faith and confidence that everything else that has been prophesied to unfold will in fact unfold. And so, again, We're the largest repatriation of African Americans to ever leave, to repatriate outside of America successfully. The largest organized Black Americans to ever leave America. We're the largest vegan community to ever leave. Our health, our health records, indicate a great shift where in America, we're the lowest, right? In Israel, the highest, okay? Some of the highest as it relates to our, our state of our health. And of course, our lifestyle. So the things that we've already been able to accomplish is nothing short of a miracle, which we would call the miracle in the desert. We was called an island of sanity, right? And in a village of peace because of the greater accomplishments. So when it comes to the Israel, Palestine conflict, even with us ourselves, we can go in and out of both places. Okay. Saw Eliakim, our minister of tourism, takes people, busloads of people, on a weekly basis going in and out because they respect who we are. They respect our position. We have a great respect in that land from everybody within that land and surrounding areas as well. So these are the things that we were able to accomplish in a very fast amount of time that, again, leads us to the faith that we have. So, Dynast, that's pretty much an overview. And I want to just use, for anybody who's kind of familiar, I want to use a couple scriptorial references, right? So you said, like, how does that look, right? For an example, in Ezekiel, the 21st chapter, the 27th verse, it states that, it says, I will overturn it, and it shall be no more until he come whose right it is, and I will give it unto him. It's talking about the land of Israel, right? That it will be overturned, that this people will be over, that people will be over, this people will be over, but it wouldn't be no deep-rooted governance of that land of one particular people, but it will continue to be overturned until, he whose right it is to be able to govern. Okay. It also, it also states in the prophecies, it says, foreigners will rebuild your walls and your kings will serve you. Okay. Though in anger I struck you, in favor I will show you compassion. So these are prophetic verses that gives us the confidence and the faith that it will unfold. And when you understand metaphysics, anything that you can conceive, no matter how far-fetched it is, America was once an idea. Okay, the University of Penn State, its first graduation class only had 9 people. Now look at the University of Penn State. So as long as you can conceive it, believe it, right, and then have the faith and then the works behind the faith, anything can be accomplished. And again, what we've done so far is a testimony of that reality. And how long that will take, we don't know. How many generations, we don't know. How it exactly turned out, we don't know. But we are very confident that it will happen because we're confident based on what has happened so far. So, Dynast, you got any other, if you got questions, and then
yeah. So, okay, the turn back over part.
Yep.
So, are we talking about the Israel that the borders were created by Britain, and then how is that turned back over? Like, how does that look? That's where I get confused. That turn.
May I chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is my background clear now?
You clear?
Yes, sir.
You ready?
Okay.
To go.
Well, my brother Uriah did an exceptional job of giving that historical overview, and I want to say I appreciate you for hosting us on this platform at such a very sensitive time. Our hearts, minds, and souls, and our prayers out to all of the families innocent in this struggle and that are suffering as a result of
the sound is popping again. Like, you sound clear when you first came on. Now you're.
What about now? Is that better?
There you go. There you go.
Okay. I was probably getting some feedback. I was saying that our hearts, minds, and souls and prayers are with those families who are innocent in this tragic time. But I wanted to answer your question. See, the land of Israel, historically, prophetically, it is an ancient site. It is an ancient site that is calibrated with spiritual energy, hence the Mediterranean, the center of the earth. That whole region, all of the ancient civilizations that were calibrated in that area all had very high, sensitive, spiritual advancements. So Israel is one of the many locations in that region that has been, like I said, calibrated for the world to receive righteous works, to witness righteous works. Our job, our prophetic mandate is to move from being, as Gerard mentioned, on the bottom of the societal totem pole to become those brothers and sisters who, again, perform righteous works and set an example. Celebrated such as Israel because we connected to our historical homeland and the continuity. In that land is supposed to be an example of how the human family is to live in peace and in harmony. So the overturning is that the Holy One of Israel said that I'm going to continue to allow the strife and the struggle to be there until the land and the people in the land are calibrated back in harmony with those righteous cycle seasons and set times that is given to the human family for peace. What we've done in the last 50 years is set that example. You know, our life, things that we've done and the influence that we've been able to have throughout the continent and around the world is a byproduct of our culture. So when you're right, you know, it's going to return back to us. All we're doing is we're being in harmony with the divine objectives of living a righteous lifestyle that will impact and influence the cultures of the world to return back to cultures of peace. And that's what he was saying about we have such a relationship with both Jew and Arab and indigenous individuals who live in the land. Israel's a home to 100 nationalities. And we've been able to develop very close relationships with everyone in that land. And that's what the objective is. So what we aim is we're not here to pick up stones and guns and go to war in that fashion. We will fight ours, but our objective is to fight a spiritual battle through culture that represents righteousness. How we govern ourselves, how do we handle our children, how do we marry, what is the relationship between our men and women, brothers and sisters, husband and wives. You know, we calibrate into the holy day cycle. How are we eating? Are we eating in harmony with the environment? You know, we fast on the Shabbat. One of the brothers that a very good friend of mine, the Kyoto Protocol of Japan. Are you familiar with that, my brother?
I'm not, no.
All right. Well, in Japan, Kyoto, Japan, forgive me my ignorance, I don't remember the year, but all of the developing nations came up with a protocol that said that the developed world must decline in their development in order for the world to continue because of the CO2 emissions. So they created a protocol saying that we can only produce so many vehicles, so many washing machines, we can only produce so much without destroying the environment within a period of time. My brother Zarakia, he developed what he called the Dimona Protocol, where he did the study showing that if you have 5,000 to 10,000 people that is calibrated into our community and culture every year, fasting on the Shabbat, that's 52 days out of the year, not using electricity, you know, wearing natural fibers, not the synthetic fibers, and contributing to the pollution that comes from producing synthetic fibers. If you think about our diet and our lifestyle and how we don't contribute to the CO2 emitted by consuming animal-based products, when you consider what a carbon sink is, which like the Amazon rainforest is a carbon sink, it helps offset the CO2 emissions in the planet. But by 10,000 people worldwide over 50 years calibrated into that culture, we have in a very practical way saved the planet from being destroyed just by not participating in those lifestyle habits. So in a very real way from Israel, we are setting an example through culture that will help the rest of the inhabitants of the world and the African Edenic world in particular to return back to those righteous cycles that the Creator has put us in for peace and solidarity on the planet. So in that way, to answer your question in a very long way, in that way, we are there to excel in our influence and to demonstrate to the world that righteous culture can prevail and create the type of lifestyle that humanity is aiming for.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys currently support the current Israeli government, like that's in power, or just over the years that you guys been there? Have you guys like what's been your guys' relationship with the
Well,
Israeli government?
one of the things, and I can't wait for Yehoiakim to jump back on, but one of the things that a lot of the lay people around the world don't understand, and I think they don't appreciate, is the fact that Israel is so multifaceted. There's so many political parties, organizations, affiliations, different religious groups and subsects that coexist in Israel. So Israel is not as simple as most people think. It's not as okay, Arab Jew. That's it. No, it's a very multi-dimensional country, and that's a part of the beauty of it. To be honest with you, so many of those different factions don't always agree. So when the question is posed, do we quote unquote support? The follow-up question would be, well, what do you mean by support? We have allies in various organizations that are that align with many of the values and principles we share. And then there's some that are, that are kind of, I'm not going to say adversarial, but in opposition. But it's not just with us; they're in opposition to each other. So when we look at Israel as a geopolitical landscape, we can't just assume that everything is always black and white. And I think that's where a lot of the misconceptions come in terms of where our position is, because we have to answer these questions that are most of the time presented with a black and white. Is okay. Do you support Israel? Well, what faction in Israel? What aspect of Israel? I mean, we're an integral part of the society. In that regard, yes. But do that mean we agree with a lot of the political decisions of the 102 political parties, the 112 political parties in Israel? No. So again, we just have to really be and like Uriah said, what we want to focus primarily on is what is our contributions to the society in Israel as a whole, and how we've been able to reach out internationally to other communities and nations and governments, and how we've been able to impact them from where we are in Israel.
So as far as Black Hebrew Israelites serving in, I guess, for the IDF, what are your thoughts on that, especially with what's going on right now?
I'm gonna make this last comment. I'm gonna defer to Yehoiakim because he actually served in the IDF and he was born in Israel. But I will say that due to the nature of, again, having to develop some form of homeostasis within the society as a whole, we've made some agreements and we've looked at some of the things that would benefit a lot of our subsequent generations as it pertains to our participation in different elements of government. I mean, it would just be foolish for any group of people living in any nation to just not, to just kind of go off into a corner and just say, well, we're indifferent. You have to engage with the society at large to some degree. And one of the decisions that was made through negotiation was that our strength to the state of Israel and some capacities. And then, like I said, I'm gonna defer to Yehoiakim because he's in it.
Yep. So right before, and I want Yehoiakim will, just kind of explain, his historical relationship with going through the IDF and the different, pros, cons as relates to that. But right before he does, Dynast, here's the deal. If we understand that prophetically, that this particular land, and when you said, the land, the modern day land, that land, we still, from our historical evidence, is that land was still a part of the land of Israel in ancient times. Okay. Many people are coming with these, some new doctrines saying that it's in different places all over Africa. That's fine. But from our research and from our understanding, that is a geographical, the geographical location where the land of Israel existed in ancient times. Therefore, we are absolutely an integral part of the land of Israel. Therefore, it will be wise for us to do whatever it is for us to protect Israel. Because ultimately, prophetically, that's something that if Israel was to, Lord forbid, something was to happen to it, then that would impact our prophetic inheritance that was again that is again given to us. So yes, we protect the land of Israel in that way. And so Yehoiakim, if you would love to just kind of share your experience as it relates to the IDF and the experience as it relates to that.
Before we let the brother speak, I gotta give my roses to Yehoiakim. Listen, y'all, this brother got the best cakes, cupcakes. Listen, we might not agree on everything, but listen, when he left, when Hebrew Bakes left the West End, that was a sad day. That was a sad day, bro. We need you back. Like I said, I support still because the food is the cupcakes was smacking. We need you back in the West End, bro. It ain't the same.
Yeah, man. Well, first, giving all praises to the Holy One of Israel. Peace and blessings to all of you brothers on the platform. Thank you, brother Prince. I ain't seen you in a minute. Definitely appreciate those compliments, and Hebrew Bakes. It was a great run. That's what I can say. So, thank you for that. As it relates to the IDF, so I'm just giving kind of like an overview of the experience inside the IDF. Okay. Well, IDF overall, if you could relate on to it as living in America, it would be kind of like the college scene in America. So right after high school, we're mandated to go into the IDF. For men, it's 3 years, and for women, it's 2 years. Sometimes, for the most part, you get to choose the area that you want to serve in. And it's not just the IDF, because the whole hospital services, and they call it national service, Shirut Lomi, where you can serve, in the police force, in the hospitals, ambulance, and stuff like that. So you could also, some people serve like they get into a unit and then they go into like the schools and stuff like that. So that's that whole piece. Myself, I graduated high school in 2007. I was drafted into the military in 2009. So 3 years I went in as a driver, and I served on 2 different bases. One was next door to the nuclear plant, and we kind of focused on the anti-missiles units. It's not anti-missile unit. How do you call it? It's the missiles that they shoot up to. Yes, the anti-missile units.
No, the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome.
No, not the Iron Dome. This was before the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome was relatively new, but we still had anti-missile units. So if you went to Israel, and if you went to like the Salt Sea, up on those mountains up tops, they have missiles that are aiming at the sky for anything that comes over from Jordan. And so my base were responsible for all of them. Again, the Iron Dome came in a little later, and it's more technologically advanced. So then I was moved to a Air Force base. And that base, my particular duty there was logistics for the 777s, air refuels. So they would refuel the fighter jets in the air. And I was just in charge of getting the pilots to the plane, picking them up from the plane, making sure that all of their logistical supplies was in place. So anything that logistics, they would come to me. being in the IDF overall was a great experience. I think that it allowed us to integrate and understand the Israeli society more so, because before that, we would go to school and we kind of had our own school. We didn't learn with the Israeli public. We had a private school more so, but we did have Israeli teachers. But the IDF allowed us to actually interact with the Israeli society more so. Me, myself, I lived off our village from a young age. I think I moved off when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Yeah, about 7 years old. So I personally interacted with Israelis in the neighborhood more than the average Hebrew did. But the IDF allowed us that kind of interaction to get to on the weekends. You know, it's like coming home from college on the weekends, a holiday where you can go to your friend's house, and you, instead of going home, you're going to go and stay with your friends. So it just really opened us up. For me, in basic training, there was a difficult thing for me to understand. I heard some of my Jewish friends and brothers say that one of the goals of them being in the IDF, they wanted to kill an Arab. You know, and I had Arab friends. You know, it was just different for me. So they had a different conviction about being in the military. I never wanted to kill anyone, and luckily I didn't have to kill when I was in the military. So that was a great thing. But when I heard them say that, and then on the news I would hear Arabs say the same thing. You know, we want to kill those Jews. And so I realized that there was a difficult, you know, component between the Palestinians and the Jews directly, and that if there was to ever be peace, it seemed like there'd have to be a middleman. So, for the most part, yeah, that's it.
No, go ahead and finish. I got a question. Go ahead, finish. I got a question.
I was saying for the most part, that's it. So if you have any questions, I'll take them.
So as Black Hebrew Israelites, you know, the Palestinian argument is we were already here. You know, Britain, the West imposed themselves on us, kicked us out of our land, and brought, you know, you Jews here, and you guys have been occupying our land and have practiced a form of apartheid. Like, what would be your guys' argument to that? And then people are saying, well, you know, from what it seems, you guys support that in regards to your relationship with the Israeli government, I guess, are saying that's
well.
Let's
go back.
Go ahead.
Let's go back to before, you know, 1948, and Israel was a state. The first country that they were looking at, the League of Nations back then, was not Israel.
It was Uganda, right?
It was Uganda. And the reason why they didn't go to Uganda is because they were scared of lions and being surrounded by I mean, this is based on history that I've read. So these Europeans were determined to take any place and just do what Europeans have always been known to do, you know. So that's first. And again, it's not what we say. This is just what happened, you know. And ultimately, they didn't get Uganda, and they got this whole documentary and books on why, you know, in Hebrew they say Lama lo Uganda, or why not Uganda, you know. And so, of course, after 48, they had settled in what they called Palestine at the time, but Palestine was never a legitimate country. It never had what countries have in order to solidify themselves as a country.
But they wouldn't say that.
Okay, I'm giving you the historical context.
Okay.
That you have So there's this term called Bedouin. Okay.
Mhm.
These people moved between Egypt and all the way as far as Iraq. And they would live in tents. There were no physical houses. The Arabs back then, the Muslims back then didn't live in houses. They lived in tents. Okay. And they will move back and forth freely between Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria. That's just how they move. You know, they were nomads. And so after the settlement and the agreement on Israel becoming a state, some of them were locked in and outside of that land. Some of them were locked in Egypt. Some of them were locked in Jordan. And again, this is why they had so many wars back then, because, you know, imagine somebody coming in your house and dividing it up and saying, okay, now this part of the family don't get to see this part of the family. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened to them. However, the Palestinians didn't have a country or state. Some of them are.
That's not what they would say though.
May I chime in? May I chime in real quick? One thing.
And sorry to cut you off. The reason why I say that is like what I'm hearing is similar to what the Afrikaner was saying about South Africa.
Well, one of the things that's again not commonly referred to when you think about the history of the establishment of the state of Israel, when this movement took off, when Israel began, like Yehoiakim mentioned, the settlements, the land that the Jews occupied for those settlements was legitimately contractually purchased from Egyptian landowners in that region. So it was Egyptian Arabs selling the land to the Jewish settlers. And when those Bedouins were forced off the land, that created a natural conflict. But the issue wasn't with the Jews per se. It was between the Hashemite kingdom, the Hashemite clans in Jordan, fighting each other over who would have whatever portion of the property. But a lot of times we think, oh, the Jewish settlers just came in and forced the Bedouins off the land. A lot of the land, communities and keep developed was legitimately purchased. It's a historical fact. Landowners in Egypt. So Arabs sold land that they owned in that region, quote unquote Palestine, to the Jewish settlers when they came in. So that's why a lot of, during that movement, you have a lot of the Jewish settlers saying, well, we legitimately acquired this property. But that's a part of the historical conversation that never comes up.
So while this was going on, where were the black Jews at?
Okay, great. So let's take a quote who ended up on live television. The late president of Egypt in 1958 came on live television and he quoted just this. His name is Gamal Abdel Nasser.
He was assassinated. He was assassinated, right?
I believe so. Yep. He said, and probably the reason why, he said that the Jews left black and returned white.
He said you would never have peace in this land.
Because the Jews left black and returned back white. We were exiled by that time. We left in 70 AD. We were exiled. We then settled in various places in Africa, in the southern portion of Africa, but mostly in the western portion of Africa, which is why you get, when you talking about the transatlantic slave trade, a great number of us then ended up in the Americas and the Caribbean. This is historical facts. And we see the remnants of the different tribes in Africa still to this day who practice Old Testament culture. It's many of them, many of them. And I know you got, talking to the different aspects of Dogons and things like that. That's cool, but the fact still remains that there are lots of different cultures of people all throughout Africa who still to this day practice that and who's been doing that for thousands of years.
Okay.
And so that's what happened. We left. We were already exiled by this time. But now That's the majority of us now, Dynast. But when you go still to this day, right, in the land of Israel, there are Black African people, millions of them, and still in the land of Israel now,
Right.
who will tell you that they've never left that land, who they will tell you this is our land. So
The,
that,
the
that's what
descendants,
it is.
the descendants of King Solomon and Queen Makeda, they still have actual physical descendants of King Menelik living in Jerusalem to this day. And also the Afro-Palestinians in Gate Street in Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those brothers, they took them home and put bars on their doors. So the black Arabs that was actually there, they were the ones that was enslaved by the other Arabs that came in. That's another part of the history that never really gets discussed. So again, it's a multi-dimensional scenario at play historically. And sometimes when issues come up, we find ourselves battling on doctrine and taking sides, but really it's a really complex historical reality.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, can I put the link in the chat room? Can people call in? And you're right. I know you say you don't debate, but you already know it's gonna turn to debate, man. I mean, people.
No, we're not gonna debate, man. We're gonna let, if somebody got a strong point on something, we'll let them have that strong point. If they answer the question, we'll answer the question. But we don't.
Okay.
That's the issue, Dine, is even looking right when I get on these shows and I look at the comments, like the level of diplomacy and the level of respect that we have for one another is so low that we'll never be able to accomplish anything with that level of the way that we deal with one another. Because you have a whole nother degree that you've been studying, that I'm all ears. Dynasty, man, tell me about the Dogon people when you sat with them. I want to hear more about them, right? Tell me about your experience in Sierra Leone. But I'm not about to come to you and attempt to, I know what you saying ain't to be true. Like that's ridiculous.
I'm gonna bring Miriam on first because I think she's a black art. Miriam, you there?
I know.
I'm there. I'm here.
Now, Miriam, are you're Jewish too, right? Or
Yes.
okay, go ahead.
Yes. I'm Jewish. I converted, but I wanted to give a message to the brothers, the Hebrew Israelite brothers, that you guys are doing an amazing thing. There's not many communities with schools, their own clothes. And I know about that ice cream, that ice cream one loves.
Yeah, ice cream is fine.
So just know people will come on after me. They're going to trash whatever you say, whatever you do. But the proof is in the pudding. You guys have a community, and I've seen like the festivals that you guys do where everyone wears African garments, and I love how in the Jewish world how whole families, they have like this whole same kind of clothes, like same pattern. And I see that also in the Hebrew Israelite families, like, oh, one family has like this pattern. I love it. It's just know that you have something beautiful. And I like that there's no, I don't think there is, but especially for the Hebrews in Israel, I don't feel a hatred. Like I remember when I was in America, I joined the Hebrew Israelites, but all they ever talked about was the white Jew this and the white Jew that, and it just made me curious. And I went to the white Jews to see why should I be with the copy? You know what I mean? So just know that you're doing a wonderful thing. Keep growing, keep building. Don't let anyone divide you, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your divine comment. Thank you so much.
All right, Afri-Culture Concepts, go ahead.
Yeah, man. I just want to just chip in a little information about like these Afro-Palestinians. First off, I heard you guys say like it's black people in Palestine. Well, you gotta take into account West African history where blacks in West Africa, like regions like Chad, Nigeria, Niger, they've been Islamic for at least 1,200 years. And some of these guys descend from people that made Hajj to Mecca, you know what I'm saying? And they never left. Okay, so to just skip all that information and say that those guys, you know, they descend from Israelites or whatever, I think that's real disingenuous. Now, you know, I respect what y'all doing, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, for anybody that's kind of like trying to fall into this stuff, I would say like actually go to the source, which is West Africa first, you know, before you jump, you know, back and forth dealing with this Bible stuff. Because a lot of these cats, they don't really know history like that, especially African history. And they try to talk to you like they do, you know, and it really be wrong, and they be skipping major chunks of it. But, you know, just to reiterate, a lot of these guys descend from African Muslims that made Hajj to Mecca, and they still be going out there. It's a lot of Hassa dudes that be going out there, and they be living like in Ethiopia, Palestine. They end up intermarrying with the indigenous women out there, and they have kids out there. That's why them dudes out there, and that's why they dress like Muslims. They don't dress like Hebrew Israelites. They walk around with them shamags on their head because they Muslims. It's that simple. But that's all I had to say.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you, brother. I appreciate your contribution, and that could very much be, you know, a part of the case. So much appreciation, and thank you for dialoguing with us, bro.
Man, Leo, you owe me some money. I'm about to kick you off. No, I'm about to kick you off. You owe me some money.
Okay.
Where's my money?
Got you, man.
You've been saying that for 5 years, 6 years now.
I got you. What's up, Douglas?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Okay, here. First, I hear these brothers claim that okay, there was a migration from Israel to West Africa. Okay, there's no proof of that. Now, the ethnic groups in West Africa and other parts of Africa that claim to be Jews, there's no proof of that too. They keep claiming that in their culture, they practice Judaism. I want them to tell me which group practiced Judaism, beside the fact that they were Christianized first and got in contact with this form of religion through Christianity. And I mean the Igbos and all the so-called groups in West Africa that claim. Tell me in the culture what kind of Judaic practice they had before they got in contact with Christianity, and what proof you have that it was Jews in West Africa beside, I know in North Africa, Morocco and these places, yes, they had Jews and they were basically light-skinned white folks. But talking about dark-skinned African, Igbos and all these people, prove to me that there were Jews before they got in touch with the colonizers. We taught them Christianity and brought the Bible to them.
Mm-hmm. Asaf, you want to answer that? If you're in position, if not,
say it again.
Can you guys hear me with no problem?
Yeah, and Asaf, if you have like a headphones or something, try to keep it still, because I think that's the issue. If you do less moving, I think we'll hear you much better. So go ahead.
You're right. Go ahead and comment on that.
Okay, no problem. So yes, my brother. So it is not for us to be able to prove anybody outside of ourselves. That's not for us to do. But what I will say is that there are many historical references as it relates to the Limba tribe. When you mentioned the Igbo and many other ethnic groups who trace their own, this is their words and their history, who trace their lineage back to the land of Israel, who they state that they migrated into those lands in Africa. That's not my words. That ain't for me to prove. I understand how we got to where we got to, and that is what I can speak on. But if you would love to do that type of research, there are plenty of people within that realm that are from those particular ethnic groups that can describe how they landed where they are. But that is not for me to, necessarily to prove for them. I just know that they exist.
Hold on. I'm not Igbo, but I've been around Igbos a lot. And the Igbos that say they're Jew, it's a very small few. And the reason why they say that is because during the Biafran War, they felt like they were persecuted like the Jews. So you had a small amount of Igbos that claim to be Jewish, but the majority, they don't take those Igbos serious. That's just, just me dealing with Igbos in Nigeria. They don't take them serious. Now,
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, well, staying on brand with not debating, and for the sake of time, there's some literature, some Igbo literature that actually goes in harmony with that. But to answer the brother question about talking about they were Christianized, again, we're talking about a culture. We're not talking about a religious doctrine. And a lot of times people always want to take Hebrewism and throw it into the same as Christian, Muslim, Buddhist. What it's not. It's an ethnicity. It's a lineage. It's not a religious affiliation. You have Hebrews that are Christian. You have Hebrews that are Muslim. You have Hebrews that are Buddhist. Hebrews that believe in everything. So Hebrews is not a religion. So we keep trying to make that comparison, but it's not.
Can I add something? And I know this is not something that the Hebrews will agree, but this is just my take on it. When I started doing Judaism, I found that a lot of the ways are so similar to Kemet, and a lot of the ways are so similar to Black culture. For example, the women having their hair covered. Like, I know every time I see an African woman, she's always with her hair covered. My mom, Caribbeans, and I don't know, a lot of the things, the Shabaka stone and Kemet, where the laws are written, just like the Ten Commandments. And I think when someone from an African culture meets Judaism, it kind of resonates. It's almost like something like a memory, like it shakes. You almost think that you this is you, because it's so similar to African culture. And I think that's why a lot of people will say, "Oh, wait, that's mine, that's me." But I don't know. This is my take.
Can I say something real quick?
Can I add some?
Go ahead.
Okay, the sister made a point. The point is simple. We got Judaism from writing from Aramaics and from Greeks, right? Most of the Greeks were in North Africa when they had what you call the Greek Empire. So many of the culture that you see in Judaism are really copied culture from that part of the world where the Greek settled and mixed the cultures. You read the Bible, many of the stories, the names are really African names that was taken from that area. So as when some Africans, I'll give you an example. You got names like Amin, right? You're gonna see in many African cultures, Amin is always what he said at the end of the prayer, right? The truth is that Amin got into Judaism from Africa. It was gods called Amon. You go in Ghana, you got Amani, the same name, you see them among some ethnic groups in West Africa. It didn't come from Judaism. It entered Judaism from Africa. This is why you got so many groups in Africa. When they see similarities in names, they will say, "Oh, we Jews because we got these names." The truth is that the Jews, which were what you call people that migrated and made the culture of elements of a culture, and the books were written by Greeks. Aramaic is not a Jewish language. Aramaic is a language of people that conquered the Jews. So most of the books, the Bibles, are written in foreign languages. So this is why the mistake of people making Africans seeing certain names and they see the similarity of the name, but culturally, okay, now I get to the point of what the brother said, that Judaism is not a religion. That's false, totally false. Judaism is a religion. Christianity and Islam came out of Judaism. Most of the folks that live in Israel are convert or European converts. The reason you don't see Russia involved on behalf of the Palestinians, because most of the Israelis are really Germanic Russians. You see, most of the folks that lead Israel, you see the background, they either Polish or they're either Russian. They come from that Russian background because they were Germanic folks that converted to Judaism. You know what I'm saying? And they have no link to that land at all.
Let
But
me
now
let me ask you a question. Hold on, let me ask him a question.
Yes.
Have you ever been to Israel?
No, never.
Okay, well, I grew up there, so I know the different ethnicities and backgrounds for where these people come from. What you're saying is true to a
Sorry,
degree.
I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you right
Let,
there.
let him finish. Go ahead.
To what he say so he can right, so his point can be clear. Somebody say that Judaism was what you call was not a religion, right? Now
No,
he
he
took
didn't. He
No,
didn't say
he
that, sir.
never
He
said
said
that. He never
no. He
said that.
said Hebrew. He said
Yeah,
Hebrew and
that's
the
what he said.
Israelite.
Hebrew
That's what he
Israelite,
said.
not
That's
a
two
religion.
different things. Correct.
agree.
can I just ask
Judaism is a
him?
different. That's very
Sorry,
different.
I thought he
Well,
talked about
let me finish.
I
No,
Let me
sir.
finish my point real quick, because this brother
yes,
is
sir.
dropping. He's dropping information, but you got to put it into perspective. So again, what you're saying about the Germanic Jews and the Jews that came from Europe is correct to a degree. We also have Jews there from India. You have Jews there from Morocco. You have Jews there from Libya. You have Jews there from Iraq and Iran. You know, um, however, and this is just the more lighter tone Jews. Before we get into the black, Jews or Hebrews, because there's a very distinct difference between Judaism and Hebrewism. We have 12 tribes. Judah is only one of them. And I'm not saying that we're not Judah, but where's the rest of the 11 tribes? Okay. These are questions that we have to ask and then put everything into a proper perspective. So that's all I wanted to say, brother.
I also want to add, if it's so similar to African culture, why so much? Why does it bother you so much that they live
Well,
how they want to? Not you, but
yeah, yeah,
the GNAWA guy.
yeah. So I'll let me put some things into perspective a
What,
little bit.
what's the question, sister?
It's not. It's
Let
not.
me let me put some things into perspective, right? So there's a common narrative that a lot of our brothers and sisters who are familiar with the term Hebrew Israelites, based upon what you've seen on YouTube, you may know some people, etc. Um, but many people are not familiar with us in particular. There is, in bloodline wise, many of them do descend from the ancient Israelites just as way that we do. But in practice, we have many we're different. So the name of our nation is the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem. So we don't have this, anti-African separation between Africa and Israel. Our understanding, we live in Israel. So by us understanding Israel, Israel is on the continent of Africa. The way that you separate continents is by its flora and its fauna, its plant life and wildlife, and also the geographical regions such as mountains, etc. Israel is Northeast Africa. It has been always recognized as Northeast Africa before the splitting of the Suez Canal, where it then became the quote unquote Middle East. It was purposely done that way so that you never was, because think about it. Egypt, we know, is in Africa. Well, Egypt and Africa, before the split of the Suez Canal, is still are landlocked. You
Can I ask you something, bro?
Let me finish, my brother, real quick. So you could walk from Israel to Egypt. It is Northeast Africa. So there's no separation. So the reason why it's so similar, as a sister stated in her intelligence, to African culture is because the Hebraic history and the Hebrew Israelites were African. It's an African land with African people. The Hebrew language is an African Semitic language. It did not originate in Europe. It did not originate with the Greeks. It is an African Semitic language, which is very similar to the other cultures in the region. It's an African people. It's an African land. So we don't have that anti-African. In fact, just for the record, right? We're one of the most contributing organizations to the land of Africa. We have our African Boreholes Initiative. We have dug boreholes in various places in Africa for the villagers to be able to have drinking and water, running water. We've been in Ghana for over 45 years, established in Ghana. We're in Liberia. We're in different places in Africa, and we understand that the redemption of Africa will be the redemption of African people worldwide. So we don't have that anti-African sentiment. So that's what I wanted to make sure that, you know, the audience understood about us in particular that you may not be familiar with.
Dynast, the sister asked a question, and I think it was directed at me, so I wanted to know. So I
to go past the Africulture concepts after that.
Go ahead. I was just asking, why should it bother you that if what they're doing is basically African, and you see results?
No, what bothers me? Sorry. What bothers me is the fact that many Africans who have cultures that's older than Hebrew culture claim to be from the Middle East.
Leo, if I can interject, Leo, if I can interject, he has a, and now you could correct me, but I was thinking that the other day, like many of the tribes that I've been around, and sat with, their cultures are older than the Hebrew culture.
That's the point I'm making, right?
Yeah,
that's the point. Right. I'm saying this is what bothers me, because you claim a culture that's younger than you, and it's only because you read the Bible. You know what I'm saying? You identify with Christianity, which claim to be a superior culture. So it's really of the fact that Africans are rejecting their own culture and identify with something that's come out of Africa. That's what bothers me. But the similarity, like I say, if you go deep into studying the religion of Judaism and Christianity, you will see that all this culture developed in that part of the world when the Greek got in there. You know, the Greek got in there and mixed some of the cultures that they took from that part of the world.
I want to give you an example.
Right, man, you gotta let somebody else go.
My parents are Haitian, right?
Okay.
And when I grew up, so when I grew up, my mother had the habit, she would salt the meat and scrub it with lemon, and that's how she made it, and she was ready to cook it. Okay. It seemed like such an extra step. No one I knew did this. I would do it sometimes if she was watching me, but I wasn't so strong about it. Then I became Jewish. Okay. They have this whole thing where they salt the meat, but they don't scrub it with lemon. And I felt bothered. Like, I know this is kosher meat, but I had to kosher it my way. You know what I mean? Like, it brought me back to my culture.
And that's my point. Which came first? Because now some Hebrew Israelites, I'm not talking about the brothers in Israel. I'm talking about the anti-African Hebrew Israelites that claim that they are no Africans, right? So those folks, they will not acknowledge the fact that these cultures came out of Africa into the groups that migrated into Egypt. Because even if you study the Bible, all they're talking about is Egypt, Pharaoh, because that's where they got most of the cultures, right?
But there's nobody like that here.
Right. So my point is this: why you claim something else that took from you? You know what I'm saying? All the culture that you're talking about, they took from Africa. And
just briefly, brother,
when you study the Semitic languages, right? Which language is the largest Semitic language? Is Amharic, right? Most of the largest Semitic language speakers are in what you call in Ethiopia, that area, part of the world, right? But folks have the tendency to
agree with that.
Semitic to the Jews. But the Jews, right, the language came out of the more Semitic language speakers are Amharic, which are in Ethiopia. That's my point. They take from us, but we claim to come from them.
So let me pass the Africulture concepts real quick. I'll pass it back to you, you're right, and I'll let Brandon ask his question. Go ahead, Africulture concepts.
Yeah, the brother said, I think Abdiel, he said Israel is part of Africa or something like that. But if you, I'm not an expert at, like Egyptian literature, but I do know some stuff of it about it, and they had particular names for people that was from Asia. They would call them Amu. All right, they call those people Asians. It would translate into Asians. So, you have to account for that, because most of those people were Northwest Semitic people, like Israelites, like Canaanites. People like those people, the people that they predate, like they led up to the Israelites. That's one thing. Another thing is Semitic is the only Afro-Asiatic language that's spoken outside of Africa. It's spoken in Asia only. Okay. Now the ancestor of Semitic is Afro-Asiatic, which is an African language, but it was shared in between Asia and Africa. Yeah. Okay, but that stuff, Hebrew, that stuff descends from Akkadian. Those people, they formed their culture in Sumer, in Syria, and then later on they came to Egypt for a little while when nomads come pay tribute to pharaohs and stuff like that, bring their cattle and stuff like that. That might be a little cultural, interaction right there. But to say that these guys is straight African when we got stuff in the Torah that's anti-African, like thou shalt not carve markings in your skin for in a religious fashion, that's totally anti-African, when it's African tribes that's south of Egypt that would do scarification in their face. You know what I'm saying? It's totally asinine to me. But yeah.
Okay. So again, thank you, brother. I love your contribution. Again, I think from the brother, the L brother, the conversation that he was having, as he stated, was a conversation that he was having with those who are quote unquote anti-African. So that wouldn't be a conversation for us. We're not anti-African at all. Again, back just to the general aspect, my brother, Africulture. The understanding is from a geographical understanding. Again, this goes beyond what somebody believed to be right, whether they subscribe to the Torah, they don't subscribe. Israel is in Africa. That is a scientific geographical fact. So therefore, anything Africa, when you say, well, when you said that certain things, because you said don't mark in the skin, is anti-African, what we have to understand, my brother, is Africa is a continent with 54 different countries, okay, listed at this particular time. There are many different conflicting cultures that one may do something the other one won't. So we can't say because one person does something in Africa, one group of people, that it's African in totality. It's just different cultures. You got different tribes. This is the reason why tribal wars happen, because people believe in different things. People follow different things. Now, back to you, L. As it relates to what came first, that's not our argument. Our argument ain't what came first. We understand, even from the Bible itself, that Adam or Adam, right? These were not Israelites. That didn't even exist at that particular time. But it was a group of people in a particular region from Ethiopia on to modern day Iraq who had similar cultures. So as time progressed, then different cultures start to emerge. And in that understanding, one of those cultures just happened to be the Israelites, who had a particular history. And that's where we trace our lineage from. So it doesn't, whether they came first, we'll be playing that game all day. We're just going in circles. None of us, first of all, was there, right? And then we don't have firsthand proof, okay? We're not even in a state where we as a people are, have we ain't got archaeologists, and just as it relates to a nation that we feel very confident as it relates to what their findings are. So we're all getting information that we've learned and come across, and then it's up for discretion on how you want to perceive that. So that's why I say we don't debate, because we'll never get anywhere. The point is for an example, Rastafarians are a group of people that we know newly emerged, okay, as a culture. It doesn't negate their existence or validity as a culture, just because when it emerged, they're still a people now. They're living, functioning people. So just like Rastafarians, we now have re-emerged, and we are a living, functional people who are functional on this earth, who are doing good deeds and good works, who are an example of what we can evolve to, coming from the Black American experience, where we have many things. You've heard other people outside of ourselves testify to the many good things that we're doing on this earth. That is the only thing that we're really interested in to build from, and that's imperative for us to understand. That's why we don't, engage in that, because we'll never get anywhere from that.
Yeah, I feel y'all. It's just for the, for people that's that's kind of lost, with the history and the, the stuff in the Bible, which, like in the book of Ezra, at the time of Ezra, they couldn't even trace their lineage back then, So it's just crazy that we got guys in the modern era claiming that they trace their lineage to these people. But yeah.
All right, let's pass it to Bucci Badass Paul.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Here's the thing. Okay, I just want to ask a question. I want to say this, and I want to ask a question. Okay, no, I want to ask a question to the yellow around.
And then Bucci, you got to let them answer the
question. I'm
going
to let him answer the question. I'm going to let him answer the question. Who is? I like the fact that he said that Israelite is not a race or a group or a nationality. Oh, it is. It could be a nationality, but it's not
a religion.
Like it's not a religion. Yeah, let's say it's not a religion, right? Okay, who was essentially the first? Who does your line as Israelite come through? Who is like the father of the Israelites?
Right.
So,
who is the progenitor of the Israelites?
Abraham, my brother.
Okay. What city was Abraham born in?
Chaldea.
Abraham was born in the city of Ur. You are Ur. That alone tells you that these people who supposedly come through the line of Abraham, they were something else before what they claim to be what they are now, right? So this is an advent, right? This is something. Abraham came through. He said, I walked out in the desert and I heard a voice. And I thought it was God talking to me, and it told me to sacrifice my son to him, right? It's just hearsay. All this is rooted in hearsay. Some guy went in the desert, said he heard God. Next thing you know, you got a bunch of people telling me that I'm not black, I'm really a Hebrew, I'm not really an African, all that. When in reality, all this is based on just something a guy made up walking around in the desert. He was a nomadic person. He had herds. He lived in tents, roaming around. Now, when these people talk about Israelites, anyone can be an Israelite. Israelite is not something specific to black people, because when Moses had the mixed multitude, people of every nation sitting at the bottom of Mount Sinai, he threw the blood on them before he read them the covenant. They all agreed to be in the covenant. The Bible clearly tells you that when Moses left Egypt, many people of different racial groups and nationalities left with the Israelites, fled Egypt. That is the mixed multitude. This same mixed multitude was standing at the base of Mount Sinai when Moses first made the covenant or contract with them. And they said, everything we have heard, we shall do. And he got the guys to slaughter the bulls, put the blood in 2 big bowls, and threw the blood all over the crowd. The idea that someone can come and say, Hebrew Israelite is something that is reserved to black people. I don't even think it was probably no black people there, but let's say that it's reserved to blacks. That it goes against what the Torah teaches. That goes against what history says, because if you look at history, there really is no such thing as a Hebrew language or really even an Israelite. These are Canaanites. An Israelite is a tribe, it's a religious genocide cult that came from Canaanite culture. And I'll tell you one of the ways you know that. Go in the Bible. You got Midianites, Gideonites, Hittites. You got all the ites. They all got the ITE at the end. Then you got the Israelites. If you look in the Bible, okay, I'll ask you one more question. Do you know who Jethro is?
Now, brother, I'm gonna let you.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you know who Jethro is?
No, I'm learning something. I want you to keep going. You make
okay.
You seem to be
I want to ask you. Do you know who Jethro is?
The father of Yocheved.
Okay, Jethro. I'm gonna make this in layman's terms. Jethro is the man who took Moses in when Moses fled away from Egypt. He is actually the Midianite priest who taught Moses about the worship of the Most High, because Moses wanted to marry his daughter Zipporah, and traditional Jewish custom is if you want to marry them, you have to convert to their religion. So Moses converted over to the worship of the Most High, and when he was out tending to Jethro's flock, that's when he mysteriously saw the burning bush and God talked to him and all this stuff. Those were the Midianites, right? Jethro was a Midianite who worshiped the Most High. So that shows you right there that it wasn't just Israelites who worshiped Yahweh. There were Midianites who worshiped too. Years later, when the Israelites left Egypt, after a while, after Moses died and all that stuff, they genocided the Midianites. Killed the kids, the women, the children, the livestock, everything. So why was a group of people who worship the Most High committing genocide against another group of people who worship the Most High? Because it wasn't about lineage or worship of the Most High. This was an extremist cult that went around the Levant, the land of Canaan, and tried to exterminate people who looked just like them and were actually basically they were their cousins. They tried to destroy them all. The only ones they tried to destroy that weren't their cousins was the Philistines, who are the modern day Palestinians, and they just couldn't beat them. Even David couldn't beat them. Saul and his son Jonathan were slain by the Philistines. Goliath was a Philistine. So when you listen to this stuff, always put this stuff in context. If you read the Bible, the Most High, this guy that they made up in that book, told them to slaughter everybody, the children, the women. It said don't even keep the livestock alive. That's how much genocide they wanted to commit in the Levant region, and they couldn't do it. So they became proxies of larger empires. This stuff is not holy at all. This is just a cult that thinks that they have a divine ordinance to go around and slaughter everybody else. And you're witnessing this take place in real time in Israel and Palestine right now. The reason why you will never have peace between Israel and Palestine is because the Israelites, quote unquote, believe that they have a divine order to exterminate every other group of people in the Levant region. And I rest my case.
Eli, in case you want to answer, because there was no question asked, okay. In case you want to answer, I just want to remind you, the proof is in the pudding. I see the schools you built. I see the togetherness. I see the peace among the people. Don't forget that, no matter what.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that, great sister. You have such a beautiful spirit.
Hold up. Let me check the hypocrisy.
Brad,
Let me. say this.
Let's do this tonight, Brad.
Dynast, do the United States build schools?
Brad, let him respond, man. Come on, stop. Go ahead. You're right. Go ahead.
No, I just have a general response to the brother. I don't really. He seemed to be, an expert into the field that he may be, studying from his perspective. and it is a perspective, and he's entitled to that particular perspective. He mentioned so many different things that we'll spend all night be the base of the conversation trying to just go at that. That's not my job to do. I stated from the beginning, we don't debate. That is not what we do. We build, we collaborate with those who are in tune with righteousness, with order, and who wants to see the upliftment of our people. The proof is in the pudding as relates to what we do. And based upon our history, gives us power to make sure that we manifest the destiny that is prophetic unto us. And again, the brother has a perspective, and that's his perspective to own. And again, that even from what he mentioned earlier, kind of almost like what my brother L, it is we still have to continue to separate the different understandings of what you may think that many people think that Hebrew Israelites generally agree on, and that is just may not necessarily be the truth as relates to all of us. We have different ways and perspectives of viewing this, and that's all I wanted to pretty much say to Brandon. But thank you, brother, for coming on. I appreciate your comment.
Can I ask a question to the brother?
Hold on, real quick. Well, let me just say this, Dionysus. The guy Jethro, who I mentioned, the Midianite priest, his real name, his real Semitic name is Ruel, and the name Ruel means friend of God. Friend of God. It's clear if you do the research. He was a priest of the Most High. It's clear. But no one wants to answer the question of why the Israelites who worship the Most High slaughtered the Midianites who also worship the Most High. Because it calls into question this entire we are the chosen ones. That region had a pantheon of gods just like Greeks, just like Romans. They had Baal, they had Elohim, they had
and Yahweh was the baby.
Yahweh. They had like Zeus, Hades, and all of them. All they did was exterminate their cousins who worship different gods within that same pantheon of deities. But we just want to believe that and they're like, we're the best. Every group thinks they're the best. They think they're special. But in reality, it was just a genocide cult.
The fact that you call him the Most High shows that this religion evolved from the original Canaanite religion, because the father god of the Canaanite pantheon was Elyon, which is the Most High.
Okay,
You can read Deuteronomy 32:8, verse 8 and 9, where it says Elyon assigned Israel to Yahweh, which is one of the baby gods of the pantheon.
The brother L, I think he had a question. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. I don't know if he cut the flow when he started, but I'm kind of curious to know. I mean, you in Israel now, right, brother?
No, not right now. This time, no.
Okay.
No,
Now,
I'm not in Israel, but I was born and raised there. Yes.
okay. Oh, cool. Okay. I'm trying to see the black Hebrew Israelite that's over there. Are they fighting with IDF? Are they joining the blockade of
That's a good
Palestine?
question.
Right.
So
And how?
yes,
Excuse me. Let me finish. Let me elaborate. Okay. I know there are Jewish organizations that do not support Netanyahu, right? Now,
yes, sir.
what's up? Right. We know that they're about to go and basically commit a genocide against the Palestinian people, right? If some of you are called to go, are you going to join it? Because they blockaded the place, they're about to send in the army and kill everything that moves in there. Are you going to join that?
Okay, so let me answer the question this way. First off, we do join the IDF. That's a yes. It's mandatory in the state of Israel for every person that has a status or that lives in the country to join, because it's a military state, meaning that if it, in the case like it is right now, in the case of a war, if the state needs to defend itself, all of its citizens need to be capable of defending themselves. Okay, so we do join the IDF,
and then they call us back sometimes, like now, for reserves. When the country is at war, then they call you back and you have to go and fight. So, with that being said, we have brothers and sisters who are actively serving in the IDF, and then we have brothers and sisters who have been called for reserves. So, yes, they are in the military in their respective areas, whether they're actual fighters or just supporters. Again, my particular duty in the military was a logistics driver. Okay, so if I went back now, then I would be logistically handling whatever I need for the pilots. And I'll just add this little component onto that. If somebody was to invade your country, and you wasn't the majority party in the country, or the majority of the country, I mean, would you fight to defend your family and make sure that you are safe?
Is Palestine really invading your country? In reality,
I
that
was
area
about to ask him.
that area was Palestine before. You guys are the ones. Listen, we can go back to the Bible, Dynasty, and we could go in the book of, I think it's Numbers. Which one is it, Judges or Numbers? I forget which one. When
first of all, you have to answer the question. You never answered the question.
No, I would not, because it's not your country. That's the whole thing. It's no, they're not invading your country. They've been there. They are indigenous to that land. Because even if you go in your own book, the Torah, when Joshua divided up the land, he said, I will divide amongst you the land of the nations. He even acknowledges, we could go to the scriptures now. He acknowledges, I am giving you land that belongs to someone else. You came out of Egypt, and somehow your general, Joshua, gave you land that was someone else's. And then he told you to go slaughter them down to the last child and a camel and take control of the land. So how is it your land? They've always been there.
Brother,
I'm sorry, but
back to the
if they feel okay to go on the mission that Netanyahu sent them to go in Gaza and kill everything, or they're gonna go if they were over there.
So he answered the question, my brother.
Let me clarify my question. I know you over there at an organization, right? So you got leadership, or your leadership giving you the okay to go into Gaza and slaughter everything that moves in there. That's really what I'm
Again, our position on the state of Israel, we're an integral part of the state of Israel as it relates to living there and existing and doing business and all of that. So we also join the military, and if we have to, it's not that we call ourselves the peacekeepers. Okay, so we don't carry.
How are you keeping a peace that you broke?
Go and kill the Palestinian now on the order of Netanyahu because they already surrounded the place. You going in there and killing them. That's what you're telling me.
The Palestinians allowed you guys to.
Let me answer the question, please. Like I said, we, the Hebrew Israelites, and Dimona, Israel, the majority. That's the majority of us are from Dimona. We are in different parts of the country. However, we're the peacekeepers. Wherever we go, even when we go amongst the Palestinians in that country, they know us as the peacekeepers. Okay, so we are not provoking Palestinians.
That's not my question, brother man. That's not my question. Today, all the reservists in Israel are called.
We have. Let me answer the question.
Are you going in with Netanyahu troops into Gaza? Yes or no? That's what I'm asking.
I answered that part of the question already.
Yes, he already answered that part of the question, but the way that you framed it, do we have brothers and sisters actively in the military involved in this war right now? Yes.
Okay, now your leadership, because look, I give you an example, right? Your leadership can say, no, we're not going to go into Gaza because you got Jewish organization already.
No, your sound is messed up. Like you,
or maybe somebody else.
You got a Jewish organization in
I
there
think that's
that's
somebody else, Mike.
That's somebody
Oh no,
else.
it's him. It's
I
him.
don't think it's
That's you. That's you, bro.
Okay, my point is this, right? You got a lot of Jewish organizations that protest in Netanyahu. That's not, you know what I'm saying? It's those that even protest with the Palestinians. I protest organization here. You got some Jews that's against Zionism, right? Now, your organization, are they against that? Are they against the war? Or are they, if some of your, your members are called to go into Gaza tonight, will your
So listen.
organization oppose that or tell them go ahead?
So listen. The conflict between the Palestinian and the Jews has been going on long before we arrived on the scene.
Of course.
Okay.
No, I thought you guys had been there though.
Oh, bro.
If that's your promised land, you are indigenous to it, right?
That ain't got nothing to do with what he just said, brother. You're not listening to. You're not listening for a
Man.
reason. You're listening to
See,
for argument. and say
Dynasty.
argument.
This is why we don't debate, because
No.
they
What
want
I
to stay
Well,
around.
Brad,
You can't do that.
let you guys answer.
Can't.
Go ahead. Joakim, go ahead.
So
Man, I just want to have a conversation. I ain't trying to stand a roundabout. We got to get somewhere. Like I said, the conflict between the Jews and the Palestinians has been going on for 75 plus years, okay? We just got there 50 years ago, 50 something years ago.
we just got back
Okay,
there.
we
Yes.
we just got back there. That's a great way to phrase it. We just joined the IDF in 2006. Okay, so it's not that many years ago that we even joined the IDF. I have you know, I also add this: a lot of our members didn't understand that move at all. Why we joined the IDF? Because to us, it is not our fight. We didn't come here to slaughter anybody.
I think the thing that people want to understand is everything you've done. The reason why you were born in Israel is because there's Negroes who read the Bible and thought that the Bible was talking to them. So when we look at the Bible and then you try to say, hey, don't worry about the Bible. This is what we're doing in 50 years from now. It's not ever going to satisfy anybody because you guys' entire claim is biblical. Even the government of Israel, their entire validity, their legitimacy is rooted in the Torah. If you burned the Torah today and there never was a Torah, there would be no reason for them to be there. The reality is you guys inserted yourself in a geographical location. Now you're having problems with the indigenous people, and your answer to that is to exterminate those people. And if you look at the Bible in Joshua, the book is Joshua, chapter 13, literally, the Most High says, this is the land that yet remains. All the regions of the Philistines, all the regions of the Jeshurites, they're going to be counted as Canaanites. He gives you a list, the Gebalites, and it tells you these are the people of Lebanon. He told you, I'm going to let you steal their land. But you guys come back and say, no, this our land. Y'all on stolen land, bruh, and you know it. But y'all don't want to talk about that.
So, brother, go ahead.
I just want to add something, and then I'm not going to stay too long because I don't know what else to say. But I just wanted to add that I know that in history when okay, look, there are some bad people in the Jewish world, of course, right? And when the Holocaust was happening, the British controlled Israel, right? And when the Jewish people wanted to come, they said, "Oh, sure, here's a piece of paper. It says that you own this place, the Balfour Agreement, right?" They gave them, they signed it, and then they turned to the Palestinians and they said, "Oh my gosh, look, these people are coming. Get ready to fight," And but the British, they do this everywhere. India, other countries, they make trouble, and then they hide their hands. Nobody accuses them of anything. They're clean over there in their island, but they cause trouble around the world, and then everyone is left with this trouble. So it is a big mess. It is a big mess right now. I don't have any answers. That's all I have for that.
If I may, I don't want. I'm not here to bash on the brothers at all, but just maybe some clarity. If y'all are surprised at people's frustration, it's like every time people mention a critique, it's kind of like y'all do what you do very it's like non-direct. You don't support Israel, but you live there and pay taxes. You don't support the war, but you do have active members in as soldiers. And I think this goes back to the idea of what doctrine really is. All the decisions that you make are not conscious. You feel me?
And I disagree with that. I disagree because I think this dealing. I want to choose my words carefully, but dealing with a harsh world, it's like you almost have to. It's like a dance. You have to like be very careful. You have to say the right things. You have to move the right way. And sometimes, especially when you're talking to if you're talking to someone who's not trying to get a land, who's not trying to get independence, autonomy, who's not trying to get a build, they won't understand. Why do you say this and then you do that? Why can't you just be crass and honest and if everyone hates you, then you know what I mean? It's like,
but no, sister. But let me just interject quickly.
No, let her finish. Like, let her.
Go ahead.
It's like some kind of a diplomacy is needed sometimes. And sometimes
the Jews got there because nobody else wanted them in their country. The Palestinians did the same thing that Uganda is doing right now. They were welcoming different displaced people into their country in exchange for money from the League of Nations and the UN and all that crap. And it came back and it bit them in the ass. Those people came over there. They started reading that Bible, that Torah. They started, this is our land, and started trying to slaughter them. And if you look at it, it was a bunch of Palestinians there, millions, in little tiny Jewish communities. Fast forward to now, it's all Jewish people in little tiny Palestinian communities, and they got them captured in certain areas, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and all that stuff. The thing about it is, you guys are being very dishonest about what's going on.
If doctrine has no weight at all, then why is the religion important in the first place? You wouldn't be proselytizing.
It's a cult.
If the doctrine wasn't important.
Well, let Miriam finish though. Go ahead, Miriam. I'm sorry.
Well, all I can say is I seriously don't think. So I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's just a death cult, Dynast. That's what it is at the end of the day.
It's not a death cult.
Yes, it is.
No,
Miriam,
no.
you are a convert. Miriam, what group of wait. Well, no, wait. Let me ask you a question.
Brandon,
Let me ask you a question.
Listen, I know the way you talk to your own African American people. Not nice. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Just because you don't like it don't mean what I'm saying is true.
Even if what you're saying is true,
you don't care.
The way you say it, no one will receive it.
They don't have to.
The truth,
We could just force them the way you guys are doing the Palestinians.
Let the sister finish what she was saying.
Why are you guys?
I definitely want to interject.
Brandon, let her finish, Brandon. Let her finish, Brandon.
I thought she was.
No, it's true. It's true. And Brandon, you're just pure antagonistic. You can argue with me like this. Tomorrow you'll have someone else. You'll argue the opposite thing. You know what I mean?
That's
it's like
not true.
It's just for the sake of making trouble.
It's not for this. If you want it, okay. Why do you want peace all the way up until it's time for y'all to go slaughter Palestinians? See, that's like the trick of the devil. Oh, Brandon, you're too rough. You're mean. But at the same time, the same peaceful Miriam is totally on board with genocide of Palestinians down in Gaza Strip. You are the hypocrite here, Miriam, not me. Not me.
And calling it diplomacy.
Did I say that I was on board?
You are on board with it. You said it. You converted to it. You're the worst because you chose to be a part of it, even when you knew it was something messed up.
I knew. How do you know that I knew?
Well, if you didn't know, get out of it.
No, I like the discipline. I like the religion.
You like the genocide too.
But see, this is where the rubber meets the
real
road.
quick. Hey, hold on one second. One second. Hey, it's one thing, again, this is why we said as it relates to debating. It's one thing to have a conversation, but brother Brandon, be respectful, especially with us on this. Be respectful to the sister. Just let her talk. When she's finished, then you speak to her. Speak to her like you got some, like we have some sense.
I'm giving all due respect,
brother. Don't cut me off. Yeah, I know, but don't cut me off. Listen to what I'm saying, brother. So what I'm saying again, you have your perspective. Nobody's challenging you on your perspective. That's fine and dandy. Whatever you're doing with your perspective, I'm sure you are doing some good works in your particular life. What we've done with our perspective is we're doing some great works. At the end of the day, you got your perspective, ride on that. That's fine, brother. But as relates to respect, we're gonna have respect and decency when we have a conversation, especially anytime we on the scene. That's what we're gonna make sure we're gonna have some order as relates to that. Okay?
So what we're gonna do, the Bible says that the devil is constantly presenting himself as an angel of light.
Brother, for you to be anti-Bible,
let me say what I want to say. Yeah, because I studied the Bible.
I love it, bro.
I studied it. So listen, the reality is you guys rarely run into people who actually read the scriptures. And when you run into them, your way of shutting them down is by arguing, oh, they're too abrasive, they're too rough around the edges. Can't nobody who supports the genocide of a bunch of people stand in my face and say, brother, let's be peaceful and have respect. You're just feigning cordiality, because I know if I was a Palestinian sitting down in the Gaza Strip, you'd be wiping my ass out right now.
Here's the simple response to you, my brother, and this is for anybody who's wondering this. Number one, you haven't heard us say anything about us supporting a genocide of no people. That's first and foremost. So anything that you're saying as relates to that, that's your own words, placing it onto us. That's number one. Number two, there are people right now in this country of the United States of America. This country raped us, enslaved us, did horrific things, sold us horrific things. Yet and still, I know maybe you're somebody in your family has fought in the United States military in wars that as Black Americans, we don't have no position in. But the reason why, absolutely, and the reason why, Dynas, is here's why. Because as a people, when the African world failed as a whole, we became subjugated to the greater governments, which means that we were placed in positions that are not favorable and not ideal for us. It is the same thing as relates to our position at this particular time in Israel, but through our faith and through prophecies, we understand that at some point that will change. We are in a similar position, but in America, but Israel, unlike America, with us, Israel, unlike America, we didn't get raped by Israel. We didn't get sold by Israel. That's not the standpoint that we have with that particular country. And we have great respect from dignitaries of high levels as relates to what we've contributed to that particular land. And we get dealt with respect as a sovereign people and a people who have a particular position on a high level. In America, that don't exist. Your representatives are the Black Caucus, which is a lot of sellout individuals in certain particular areas that people will argue, and or people who don't have the Black community's best interests at heart. So we're fighting for, but nobody's arguing. You ain't arguing with your brother the way that you going hard, as Miriam said, that you as an antagonist. You're not arguing with your cousin who enlisted in the United States military. So what we're saying is we're just not going to engage in a destructive conversation as it relates to that. We all know that we're in a degraded state as a people all over this planet. That's not the argument. We're not supporting genocide. I'm telling you now. So you ain't got to go and try to pull up whatever. I'm telling you now. We don't support genocide. We don't even support war in that way. But we do support wherever we may be on this planet of defending ourselves and however that we see that fit. We are the peacekeepers of that land. We've been granted that name from outside of ourselves, and we will continue to fight for peace. That's it.
And that's the same thing. And that's the same thing the white man said when he was slaughtering black people over in Africa, in the United States, and all that stuff. You guys condemn it when it's done to you, supposedly, and then you support it and praise it when it's done to somebody else. The reality is, Jews were heavily involved in the transatlantic slave trade. First of all, that's Israel, for your information. They even own most of the ships. They gave a lot of the loans to the people when it took slaves from Africa and stuff like that. So,
didn't you say that
the reality is
Africans also?
The reality is, you guys are slaughtering a group of people in their indigenous homeland. You've already put them in basically what is a prison called the Gaza Strip. And then when they want to get out of the prison, they fight you because you're not good enough with having the majority of their land. You even want the Gaza Strip, building condos and stuff up in there, taking even more of their land. So when they push back, your answer is to say, hey, Netanyahu, flee to Egypt. That's what they want. Why do you think, Dynast, Netanyahu is telling those people in the Gaza Strip to flee the Gaza Strip and go into Egypt? Because that's what they always wanted. This ain't about fear from these people. This is about real estate. Israel is one of the most secure nations on the planet. And you're telling me that they just dropped the dice on one particular day? And you would have to have me believe the 9/11 stuff for me to believe that Israel just made a huge mistake and Hamas was able to go into Israel and invade. They let that happen. So they would have an excuse to evict those people from Gaza. And the ones who won't leave, they're going to go exterminate them. That's it. It's as simple as that. You could put the fluff around it. These guys are professionals at doing one thing. Making latkes, two things. Making latkes and moving the damn goalposts, because that's exactly what they do.
Go say that to white Jews. Because
I did on my show, Patty Mayonnaise, Under Fire. I tell them, Miriam, you were there when I was going at it with Patty Mayonnaise. She is a Jew connected to the ADL, and I fried her ass.
Go say that to white Jewish men.
White Jews can't even handle biblical Hebrew, bro. They get screwed all the time.
Come on, bro.
So again, that's all I really have to say to you, my brother.
I talk to there's a Jewish temple right 2 blocks from my house. I talk to those Jews all the time. And you want me to tell you the crazy thing? Most Jews agree with me. Most Jews don't even like the ADL. Most Jews don't even like the state of Israel because they say all they want to do is cause trouble. Most Jews want to make money.
In that case, why is it so hard for you to understand that we're not so about the genocide either? Why is it so complicated? Like,
you ain't speaking against it.
You want to yell to us, but you have nice things to say to them.
Y'all ain't speaking up against it.
Oh, that's not. You don't know that, Brandon. You don't know that, Azrael. You don't know us. So
to me, it's not even that. It's not even that complicated. If you live there and you're part of the society, you chose to move there. You know, you weren't forced there like we were forced to the U.S. No matter how it goes,
you don't have to stay in the U.S.
when the pressure comes, she cut me off.
You don't have to stay in the U.S.
But why do they have to stay in Israel, which is a land that has nothing to do with them? Why not keep peace in West Africa?
I want to hear.
Yeah, we're about to close out. Go ahead, Uriah, and then we'll start closing out. But
yeah, I just want to hear.
Before the brother close out, I just want to say, look, I'm not against y'all brothers. I respect the beautiful work that y'all doing. You know what I'm saying? But we all share this world. We all share these communities. So these conversations are going to happen. and sometimes I feel like it's just easy for brothers to just skate over things certain times. But whatever, it's cool.
Yeah, brother Zoo, I like your temperament. I like, how you coming. You got some legitimate questions and legitimate, positions that I would love to be able to, dialogue with you more as it relates to just being able to understand one another. But in general, like I just said, I mean, yes, you can say very much what you just said as relates to maybe some of our position as relates to that land, but then you would have to also say that as relates to, again, we had millions, okay, hundreds of thousands of black people fighting in Afghanistan, killing Afghanistan, Afghanistanis. We had black people fighting in Iraq. We had black people fighting.
Forced there. So it's that's a false equivalency.
So no,
No,
let me
they're
no,
not forced to fight in
you're
the
not
military,
forced.
bro.
You're not forced in the military, my brother. So you're not forced in the military, my brother.
They are American citizens due
Let
to
me
the
finish.
fact of
That's my point.
slavery, brother.
But
You're not
they're not
in the
forced to
military.
fight in the military. They're not
Exactly.
forced to fight in the military. They're not.
Exactly. So if you understand that point, then again, we, wherever we are on this planet, are in a degraded state. So until we have a truly sovereign nation in the sense, and we understand in Africa, but we understand Africa, we understand Niger in 2023 is just now, okay, fighting for their lives to break free from colonial influence and rule.
That's
So
not true. That's not true. That's
okay,
not
brother.
true. That comes from a misunderstanding of
That's
the
fine,
global struggle.
That's fine, brother. Right now, as to today, France is getting their
On
military out of
TV.
their country.
On TV, yes. Now, yes, yeah.
Come on, brother. What are we saying? Now we're gonna have a conversation. We gotta talk in truth. But what my
We're
point is,
talking the truth. We're not just gonna
hey,
say Niger just today started fighting the French. I'm not about that's hell no.
no, that ain't what I said. I said they're just now leaving the country. Okay,
That's
fighting
not
back
what
in a
you're
way
saying, brother.
where
But
they're leaving the country.
that's what's up. That's what's go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that that's our state wherever we find ourselves on this planet. Now we can argue about the historical aspects of things, about doctrine all day long. Here's the final point I'll leave, and we can close out Dynasty.
But is the doctrine the reason you are in Israel?
The final, I said we can argue about it. I said we can debate it. That's what I said. I didn't say whether nothing about my doctrine. I just said we can argue about it all day long. That's all I said, brother. We gotta listen to hear, man.
I'm just saying.
So
what the whole reason why this is even a conversation.
That's absolutely
No, brother.
That's what I said. So with that being said, how do we know a tree? By the fruit it produces. As it relates to whatever it is that your perceived understanding of what we understand, the fruit that we produce have helped our experience as Black Americans wherever we are on this planet, and has helped the African continent arguably, right, more than any other organization. And we can show you from 50 years of an experience that this is what we do, and the fruit is good fruit. That's all that matters.
I can't acquiesce to that, but this is your show, so I'm not going.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, brother.
I respect the good works, but just know Africans have been fighting since day one.
Can I start to close out?
But Dynasty, I'm good, brother. So
yeah. But no, we're gonna close out. Hey, Yaakov, hey, brother Ben Israel, you still making the cakes? You in Atlanta? You still making the cakes? We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
You off mute, but we can't hear you though.
We can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
He probably got a phone call at some point and it knocked out his audio.
Yeah,
hey, come out and come back in. Come out and come back in. I got an important question. You got to answer this tonight. Come out and come back in.
We're gonna get you one of those cakes.
Hey, listen, I don't care whatever you believe about, the situation. I need some cake. All right, I need a carrot cake. I don't care what y'all. I don't care however you feel. I say I'm not that petty. We might not agree on everything, but I'm gonna buy the cakes. All right,
that's a fact.
Hey, I don't agree with the Nation of Islam, but I gotta order 2 bean pies a week.
That's hilarious.
Oh, here we go. He goes back here.
Yeah, if you got it, you gotta drop the link, man.
Are you in Atlanta?
To make that plug.
Ben Israel, are you in Atlanta?
Yes, I am right now at the moment.
Hey, can I get a cake for tomorrow, or is it too soon?
Nah, it's too soon.
Damn. Okay, I still do the cake. Just how long do you need?
Just
Like,
man, you lying. The Most High be making them things fall from the heavens, dude. Stop lying. He keeping it for
is
himself.
that true? Is that true?
Man,
Can the Most High make a fall from heaven?
This brother need his own radio show. He don't stop talking.
Hit the word hurts.
How long in advance do you need?
Well, like Tuesday. Tuesday I can have some tea.
Okay, no, let's do it for next weekend. So you just tell me how much it costs, like half a sheet, and I just have it for next Saturday, next weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me know. Just let me know where to send the money. Give it your ride.
Yeah. We'll work that out.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for
Wait,
joining.
I thought you was letting us close out. What the heck? I had one more thing to say.
All right,
Go ahead.
Hey, let me just say this, and I hope I don't get interrupted. What you guys all have to understand is this is a group of people who has tricked the entire world with mythology. The Bible or the Torah is their own comic book, which they are the star of. They're the best. Stop, Miriam. Dang, let me finish. Miriam, stop. Miriam, stop. What does the Bible say about women?
No.
Silence.
My women, whatever.
You didn't see Zipporah jumping up in Moses' face. Hold up. Wait a minute.
Well, you're not Moses.
Okay, true. He never existed. But let me get here. So these people have tricked people with mythology. But listen, let me tell you what you need to know.
These people are building.
Okay, they're building. They're building. Okay.
Way more than a whole bunch of people talk and don't do.
Okay, let me finish. Okay, so here's
not
the
right for you to disparage them. Even though I'm not Hebrew Israelite, I respect them 100%.
Okay, let me finish. So
I'm not Hebrew Israelite, but I still critique people. You know
what you guys are gonna understand about the tribe.
Put in work too.
What you guys are gonna understand about the tribe of Judah, which all these Negroes, well, they say they stopped saying that. They used to say they was the tribe of Judah, but there's a reason why they stopped saying that. But these guys are the tribe of Judah, and if you read the Bible, the tribe of Judah is the host of the most religion-hopping people ever. Solomon, tribe of Judah, smartest dude on earth, worship false gods, stop going towards the worship of the Most High. Manasseh, tribe of Judah, worship false gods, built altars to him, sacrificed his own son to a false god. What you're going to understand is that tribe of Judah is something else. They will change their identity in an instant, all in the name of whatever is most advantageous to them at the time. And that's what they're doing in this day. 1 minute they support the Israeli state, but they support it, they love it, but they don't support the genocidal maniac part of it. This is what they do. Move the goalposts, change their identity, pretend to be something they're not, and try to dupe you into believing that they are some type of special people. But I promise you this, they never beat the Philistines. They never truly took over the land of Canaan to this day. So the Most High must not be that high as he say he is, because he couldn't deliver this little bitty piece of land on the planet to this group of people no matter how they did. And let me tell you, even they stopped worshiping him, because if you read the Bible, they was constantly going to worship other gods because they knew that God just wasn't good enough for them, and he punished them, and they still kept doing it. So this is all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, if you ask me, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to discuss it, but it's going to have to be discussed for you guys to have legitimacy in the eyes of the greater black society.
Peace.
Okay,
I just want some cake.
My final thing to you, Brandon, is
now let's eat cake.
Hey, may peace be to you, and I'll just be careful as it relates to how you deal with certain things and how you say certain things. But may peace be with you, brother, and I hope you all your endeavors are prosperous, brother.
In fact, Ben Israel, this is my order, Ben Israel. I need
Brandon don't need no cake.
No, okay, fine. We're worried about him. So I want like a dozen cupcakes. I need 3 banana pudding.
Man, we're gonna talk offline, man. Come on, let's get all off here. We good.
3
These
biscuits.
cakes must be hitting. Hold on.
He hot. He ready to go slap a Palestinian.
Man, bro, you don't understand. Listen. If it comes down to the cakes and the Palestinians, I might need to go to IDF and bum rush the border and bum rush Gaza for these cakes. Don't touch the cakes. So I need 3 banana pudding, 3 carrot cake, 3 Biscoff, and we'll do 3 of the Oreo cookie. or something like that. But yeah, for next weekend, just tell me where to send the money. I've said it. Just have it for like just the cupcakes. Like okay, we'll talk later. But just give your ride. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right, y'all. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. That is the Mirror Search for Real. Peace.
Peace.